On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, the Oklahoma City Thunder get a pair of gutty road wins over the Lakers and Warriors. We're going to discuss how the Thunder were able to pull out so far an undefeated road trip with only Houston looming.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Ryland Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at Ryland_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. This show is going to be recapping the Thunder's game against the Golden State Warriors and the LA Lakers. Holiday travel plans threw us back a day getting to this Warriors game, so we're going to do a 2-for-1 special here. It is Black Friday after all. And then Sunday, we're back recapping that Rockets game, and of course, we're here for you every single day after that, talking Thunder basketball. So the Thunder head into this road trip, and for me, I was looking at this as a reset the expectations trip. Because in the preseason, you had all the talk of the 1 seed, all the talk of the odds-on favorite and the predicted favorite to make it out of the West. And it was pretty cut and dry. There wasn't any real gray area for this Thunder team. And then you go through the season and you've already seen massive injuries. I mean, Isaiah Hartenstein didn't debut until, a couple weeks ago. Chet Holmgren will miss a significant portion of the regular season. Yet J-Dub playing the 5. I mean, you know all the injuries, and that can change things. Because on top of the injuries, you had some surprise teams. It's surprising that Minnesota is not at the top of the West. It's surprising that Golden State is. It's surprising that Houston has not only made a leap, but a significant one to this point in the season. So you've seen this season unfold in a way that was unpredictable. And I thought that this 4-game road trip would give us a good barometer of where this team is at post-injuries. Is it still fair to expect the Thunder to be the top seed in the West? And I think it is. Because these wins, specifically Golden State and the Lakers, these wins were not a beauty pageant. You're not going to win any blue ribbons at the State Fair for these wins. But it's way better to lose, to win ugly than to lose beautifully. And the Thunder did that, and they found the way to pull it out. And so when you can find ways to pull it out against these good teams, obviously the Warriors did not have Curry. The Thunder had their own injury woes, including in that game, losing Jalen Williams. And then with the Lakers, you beat a healthy Lakers team on their home floor with the NBA Cup on the line for each team to advance. The Thunder pull it out on national television. So I think that with Hartenstein back in the fold, we can talk about the differences in what Hartenstein provides and what Holmgren provides. And ideally, you would hope that both would be healthy. That's no surprise. These are 2 of your top 6 guys on your roster. You want them both healthy. You want them both playing. But as far as adjusted regular season win total, I actually don't think that there's much of a drop-off after seeing the sample size play out the way it has. So long as you have J-Dub, Shai, and Isaiah Hartenstein, you have enough to still go get that 1 seed. You have enough to still be expected to be at the top of the West. Your regular season doesn't change all that much. What changes is, when it looked like Chet was going to be an all-star and was going to be this massive year 2 leap, and you were only weeks away from having both him and Hartenstein, it looked at that time like you could be a historic team. I think that the dreams of being historic have gone out the window for this Thunder team, at least in terms of regular season win total. They can still be a historically great defense. They can still be historic in winning this team's first ever championship in Oklahoma City. But in terms of regular season win total, they're not going to be a team that rattles off 70 wins or anything like that, or even, I don't think they're going to get to like 68, but they can certainly get to that 1 seed in the West. And they've proven that this week on the road with all the adversity of that Thunder offense. And we're going to talk about the offensive woes to this point, but whenever you remove Jalen Williams from that game in the first half, whenever he basically had a full game in 16 minutes, I think the most dreadful part of J-Dub's injury was that was his coming out party. And I know that it might sound silly because you listen to the show every day, you watch the Thunder every day. To you, J-Dub's coming out party was probably 2 years ago. But to the national audience, these things lag behind. And so when you saw him in 16 minutes put up 13 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals on a block, going 2 for 4 from 3 and shooting 50% from the floor. Like that was the start of a monumental game for him perceptually, in a marquee game and a kind of notch in his belt for his All-Star campaign. And it was just devastating for him to go out in that game because you would have blown out the Warriors and you would have had all the good presses and everything like that. Ultimately, I think that J-Dub still makes the All-Star game and that you just had to delay his coming out party a little bit. But like after J-Dub went down, that offense could not get anything going at all. Now, to their credit, this is why I do believe this team can still win at a high clip and a high enough clip to get the 1 seed. They were dreadful offensively in that second half, and they pulled out the win 105 to 101, covering the spread and getting a win. Because they can just rely on so many different things. They can morph into whatever the game's required. If the game is requiring a track meet, you can see SGA go off for 35 points. You can see Jalen Williams get to the 30s. You can see a double-double Hartenstein. You can see a massive Isaiah Joe game. If the game is calling for crucial stops down the stretch, you can see an unbelievable block from Lu Dort. Lu Dort has had many impressive plays defensively. Perhaps none better than that block at the end of the Warriors game where he recovers after getting beat on a screen to get a block at the rim and halt the Warriors and force the Warriors to lose the game. Like that toughness win, and I know there's no Curry, but that toughness win over the Warriors, I think continues to solidify. In the regular season, while it does suck to not have Chet Holmgren, there's not much changing the expectations. Now, the Thunder expect him to be back in the regular season and back for the postseason, but the postseason would be where you would feel the loss of Chet more. Because right now, the loss of Chet is going from 68 wins to, I think that they'll still get 63, like something like that, as long as the top 3 guys remain healthy from this point forward. So that's not a massive deal in the grand scheme of things. You would feel a much different feeling in the postseason because you would go from, hey, this team can go win a championship and probably should, to can they get out of the second round? So I just think that those are where the differences come in without Chet. And so since we've talked about that all week, dating back to last Friday, about what this road stretch would mean for Oklahoma City, I think that's what it means. And you still have one in hand to go either 4-0 and beat the Rockets or turn in a 3-1 record, which is still something that we would all sign up for. Like I don't want the road trip to be lost on fans based upon what happens on Sunday, because I think that whatever happens last, like that's what fans react to. And so if they lose Sunday in Houston, like it's going to be a downer type of feeling. But I would implore you to go back and listen to Friday's show, read the reaction from that show, put yourself back into Friday's mindset. If I told you Friday that the Thunder were going to go 3-1 or better, you would have just done jumping jacks and sign on the dotting line of that contract over and over and over again. So like they've secured that. They've done their job. And this Thunder team continues to impress, even whenever they were winning ugly. And so, yeah, the defense tightened up, and there were some things in that Warriors game that I didn't like. Like, I didn't like Isaiah Joe Aaron Wiggins only playing 14 minutes. I understood it. Like, I understood that if you're Mark, you're trying to lean on your defense. Maybe I'm overrating Wiggins as a defender. I don't think that the drop-off between Wiggins and some of those guys that he was playing down the stretch of that game is so massive whenever you factor in the offensive upgrade of a guy who can get to a spots, a guy who can create for himself, and a guy who can play off of others. So, like, personally, I would have played Wiggins. Obviously, it ends up working out because that Thunder defense was stifling in the last 5 minutes, and that's why you won. And perhaps I'm overrating Wiggins' defense, and you couldn't have pulled that defensive effort out with Wiggins, but I think you could have. So, like, I have that gripe. I do think that the offense, whenever you see the games progress, like as the games progress to the second, third, and fourth quarter, there is a steady decline there. And there are times where you still see these offensive lulls. And we're going to try to figure out why that is coming up on Lockdown Thunder. But first, I want to say right now, about our good friends over at FanDuel. Go check out FanDuel today because you're going to want to get started on your NFL action from America's #1 sports book, which is FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. That's FanDuel Sportsbook. It's the app that gives you everything you need to bet on the NFL all in one place. So if you have a hunch on a game in the middle of the game, or if you just want to bet it outright before the game starts or bet on future picks, go to FanDuel.com right now today. And when you do, new customers will get $150 on bonus bets if they win their first $5 bet. And if football's not your thing, don't worry. You can bet on the NBA, which you can do tonight as the Mavericks take on the Jazz. The Mavericks 6.5-point favorites on the road in Utah. Go check it out today at FanDuel.com. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. One trend that's continued through these 2 games and 2 wins was that the offense can get stagnant, the offense can labor at times, and the Thunder have to find ways to consistently score the basketball. Now, it's not as dire as it is for other teams in the sense of it doesn't show up as loudly because typically people only have negative reactions to losses. It doesn't show up because you keep winning, but in reality, this is a problem for Oklahoma City, and there's a few reasons for it. First of all, the free throw differential, which we can, talk about ad nauseum. Mark is surely still complaining about it right now in LA, as he did before the game even started. The free throw differential, and it bared true in this game. The Lakers got a more favorable whistle. The Lakers got fouls that are unexplainable. The Thunder also committed some fouls that were unexplainable and undefensible. So it kind of worked out both ways, but the Lakers, all in all, did get the betterment of the whistle. I think that you leave a lot of games feeling that way, of like, yeah, the Thunder did a lot of stuff bad and some inexcusable fouls, but if you had to pick who got the more favorable whistle, it would be the other team. So that does hurt the offense, as Mark has talked about multiple times. I will grant you that. What I think hurts the offense a little bit is something that we've talked about since last season, and that is the role players who are talented enough. Like, it's not a lack of talent thing. These role players are talented enough to have some of these outlier games, like the way that you see, PJ Washington and name your role player here go off, right? Like the Thunder have guys who are that skilled and can pull those things off, but they're just way too passive. And so when the team goes into a zone and they're swarming SGA, they're collapsing on his drives, and they're really trying to cut him off, and same with J-Dub, then you're swinging the ball out to guys who just want to keep swinging the ball. And while it's good to be unselfish, and while this system has gotten a lot of positive things out of their unselfishness, right, there are times where that hurts you. There are times, especially against zone, where you want to see, this Thunder team be more aggressive. When Isaiah Joe, for example, like you look at Dalton Connect and Isaiah Joe today, like Dalton Connect was someone who was ready to catch fire, shoot every single time his hands touched the basketball. But like Isaiah Joe has that talent. Like he has that good of a skill of shooting the ball. But there's an element of how the Thunder play that creates a more passive nature, it feels like, from their role players. And it's a delicate line to walk, and it's very difficult to master. But I think that there are times where, especially when only one of Shai or J-Dub is on the floor, where you can see the need for other guys to step up, for other guys to be comfortable being uncomfortable, be comfortable taking a fine shot. Like, sure, you might not have a great look, and you wish you could always work for a great look, but a lot of the times in the NBA, in different segments of games especially, the good look never comes. Like in clutch time, and like at the end of quarters and the end of halves, that good look never comes. And so I just think that there's a balance there that needs to be had. By the same token, there's a balance that needs to be had of the stars figuring out when to just completely take over a game. And Shai's done that down the stretch of both these games. I mean, he took a shot tonight from the logo to try to put the icing on the cake, the exclamation point on the win, and recreate that shot he hit a couple of years ago, the I am him shot. It didn't work out, but had it worked out, people would have been going bananas right now. Brendan Rabar would have had 1,000,001 likes. He would have bought his whole family Christmas list off of Twitter alone had that shot gone in. But I just think that this offense has to figure out a way, and we'll see if the answer is them getting better against zone, or their answer is role player stepping up, or if there is an answer. But I think the offense has to get a little bit better at being maintained throughout the course of games, and that is an area where the Chet injury hurts you, both regular season wise and like day to day. Of that was one of your guys who you could give the ball to, and you look at how he came out of the gates and had MVP level numbers for 2 weeks. Like, that was one of your guys who you could give the ball to, and he could go create for himself. He could just get everybody out of the way. He can attack live off the catch, getting downhill. He can shoot the three. He can do anything in between. And when you lose that, you go from 3 of those caliber players to 2. And you can argue 2.5 because Hartenstein is so good at creating for others in the high post, but he's not necessarily great at creating for himself on the ball. So you really only have 2 guys who've consistently proven to you that they can do that skill. It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. And you also have a weird spot where, like, to give the role players more credit and not just like have this be a bad role player segment, because I do not think it's a talent issue. It is difficult because role players are all about consistency, routine, rhythm, etc. And when you're having guys bounce in and out of the lineup, and like you've seen, there's been games where Usman Jang's in the lineup and now he's hurt. You've seen, of course, Caruso be a mainstay of that rotation and now he's hurt. You've seen Isaiah Joe pop in and out. Like, whenever that stuff starts to happen, and we know that Kenrich Williams started with an injury to start this year, when that stuff happens, it of course is going to take an adjustment period a bit for these role players and for these teams to gel. And so that's going to have to happen. But I just thought that this team went through an offensive dry spell, and they did it for 2 straight nights. So it's kind of worth talking about. Shout out Lou Dort, though. Lou Dort has been fantastic all week defensively on the road. But tonight you got that offensive game that you wanted from him. 4 for 5 from 3, 5 for 8 overall from the floor. He had 14 points, and he was just fantastic. He did the best job he could defending this Lakers team, especially with how the fouls were called. I'm not going to make this a foul show. I think that you get enough of that everywhere else, but it was comical at times, the way that this game was called. Anthony Davis, I think you kind of did your job on him. I wrote about this for Thunder on SI. Like, for the Thunder to get this win, it is unfair to tell Isaiah Hartenstein he's got to shut down Anthony Davis. What you're telling him is, just don't give up MVP level numbers. Don't give up numbers that will have stories about it, tomorrow, like whatever. He's the talk of the NBA. And he did his thing. Like, let's not act like Anthony Davis didn't play good. But by the standards of AD, who at different spurts of this year had serious MVP candidacy, 15 points, 12 rebounds, like that is a quality night against a player of that caliber to defend him that way. And it led to the win. LeBron James was not good tonight by his standards or anyone else's. Austin Reeves was forgettable tonight. You did get a D'Lo game, which was pretty funny. But other than that, I mean, it was just Dalton Connect keeping this team alive with some timely buckets that didn't end up mattering. But the Thunder have to find their answer offensively. But we'll talk more about that coming up. But first, I want to say that right now about Skylight Frames. Go check them out today. Choose from the following options for you at Skylight Frame, because they're going to be fantastic. If you want to celebrate, or if you're struggling with the perfect gift idea, whatever you need, you choose that adventure and they can get you down the right path. Because if you want to celebrate and stay connected with people who live far away, if you're missing someone this holiday season or want them to be a part of the festivities, but they're too far, well, guess what? Do your loved ones that live far away a favor. They can be close to you with this Skylight. It's a perfect gift. Skylight Frame is a touchscreen digital photo frame with your whole family that they will love. You upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in seconds. It's easy to use. This setup takes less than 60 seconds. You have seamless sharing, inviting friends and family to easily share photos via the free Skylight mobile app or email. No account or subscription is required. Add new photos straight from your phone from anywhere. It only takes a tap on your phone to send new photos to your frame across the country. It's that fast. It's the easiest way to keep your loved ones in the loop with what's going on with you. They'll find so much more connectivity to you. The touchscreen is a game changer. Swipe through these photos, tap to see the new ones sent, and tap the heart button to say thank you to the sender for keeping you up to date. It looks beautiful in your home. The photos are displayed in HD resolution. You can choose from 5 frame styles to set up in portrait or landscape mode. That way it fits the decorum of your home, the decor of your home. 2 sizes to choose from with the original 10-inch or the larger 15-inch gallery frame. It looks perfect in any room. That you can even stand them up on their own. You can also easily mount them to a wall if you want to. It's better than social media. It is also the private way to share photos without posting it for the world to see or having the print and go to the print store and get hard copies of it. It is just the perfect gift. Go check it out today, and you have a satisfaction guarantee. We're so confident that you're going to love Skylight, offering you a free 120-day return. Top-rated brands, over 1 million happy customers. Thousands of 5-star reviews are available in over 30 countries. It is recommended by the Today Show, Forbes, New York Magazine, and more. Go check it out today. And now, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NBA. That's skylightframe.com/NBA. Get $20 off your first purchase now at skylightframe.nba.com/NBA. Go there right now to Skylight Frame. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. We'll be back on Sunday to recap the Rockets game. And then Tuesday, they have the Jazz and the NBA Cup, and we'll have shows in between there as well, Monday through Friday. Your teams every day, including post-game recaps. I believe Friday they play the Pelicans Friday, or the Raptors Thursday, Pelicans Saturday, something like that. So we'll have you set. Every game, every day, we're here for you talking Thunder basketball. Got thrown off a little bit but the travel this week, but I hope you can forgive me for that. Let's look at this team from a lens of 2 wins. I still believe that SGA is, of course, like an MVP frontrunner, and it's insane a little bit to me where the NBA ladder has him placed. This is another game where he went off for 36 points, had 35 Wednesday. He's ultra efficient. He's increased his 3-point volume. He's still doing the thing defensively, 2 steals and a block, and he's the perfect 5-man in your defensive rotation, which is so littered with talent. In the 5-man in the sense of like 5th best defender. 9 assists, 6 rebounds for him. J-Dub had 19 for 2 assists and 2 steals. Like J-Dub, he was just on track for such a good night against Golden State. I really hate that was taken away from him. Tonight, not a banner night to talk about it because Isaiah Joe did not have a great game. He went 1 for 7, but it was a timely 3 out of an ATO for Oklahoma City. But against Golden State, you saw the vision that Hartenstein talked about this training camp, where he discussed how excited he was to play with Isaiah Joe because it reminded him of playing with Dante DiVincenzo. And yeah, you saw their 2-man game grow. It set up 2 wide open shots on DHOs with Hartenstein and Joe. Joe missed 1 in the mid-range, then made the 3. They also could run this horn set with Joe and Hartenstein as the 2 screeners, who Mark say is the best screeners he's ever coached. So those 2 guys are so deadly in horns because what horns is of course, you have the 2 screeners at the top of the key, SGA, the ball handler, in front of them, and then J-Dub and Dort, in this case, in the corners. And no matter what side you choose to go off of as the ball handler, you can't lose Hartenstein on a roll. You can't lose Joe floating to the 3, and you cannot ignore SGA. So your defense is in a pretzel here, not to mention the secondary actions that you can have, the screener go do for a guy in the corner like a J-Dub. I think that they should be running that as often as possible because there's so many variations of horns that you can run to get open, clean looks for those guys. And it's just a beautiful thing, as is the 2-man game growing with Hartenstein and Joe, but especially Hartenstein and J-Dub. Like those 2 guys have clicked right out of the gate. We've had many a pods. Like if you just Google up Locked On Thunder and Isaiah Hartenstein, there's been many a pods about Hartenstein helping J-Dub take that second leap, and he's doing it so far in a big way. So you can go listen to all the thoughts on that. But the way that he creates separation and the way that he creates opportunities is just fantastic for Oklahoma City and a much needed reprieve for this offense. And I think that it's a situation where you look at this team and they're still good enough to be the 1 seed. They're still good enough to go run the West. And you just kind of wait around until you get your glimpse at this team fully healthy, because we haven't even really seen this team get to play a ton with Alex Caruso under this pretense of like having Hartenstein, having Shai, having Jalen, having all the people back. And we especially have not gotten to see a ton of Chet and Hartenstein together, which I think that is going to be, I think it's going to be a tremendous pairing of like them together on the court. Sure. I know that people want to talk about that a ton, but just having them play off of one another, kind of staggering their minutes, it creates just this unbelievable dichotomy between these two players of like, how do you mentally prepare to defend these two very different centers who are equally as effective in their own unique ways whenever they're on the court together or whenever they're just subbing back and forth and you have to keep readjusting your coverages. I don't know. I think it's going to be so much fun. So I hope that you'll stick with us all season long. Subscribe to Locked On Thunder anywhere you get your podcast from, including on YouTube. And until next time, be good and be good to one another.